Hi kids, it's me, Mom. Tonight I'll be cooking QuesaBirria. You're going to want to chop up an onion, 1. I have 6 cloves of garlic, 3 that I'm going to throw in with the onions when I cook them, 3 that I'm going to throw into the broth once it gets cooking for a while. You're going to need to have something to put your cubed meat into. Recommend having a cast iron again, because it will simmer like, or a slow cooker type thing. If you don't have a cast iron, slow cooker would be a good investment because you just put it in a slow cooker. But the cast iron really adds a lot of flavor to the birria. Chuck steak roast. This is the cut. A chuck steak. Beef broth, because beef broth is what you're going to use. It needs to be covered. I have 3 options so far to see if that will cover it once I begin making the stew. A sachet bag where you're going to put a teaspoon of black peppercorns, a teaspoon of coriander, uncrushed coriander, and then you're also going to have a 1/4 teaspoon of the cloves. All the small things are going to go in here. The cinnamon stick will go separate, and the 2 bay leaves will go separate. You want to make sure your meat comes into room temperature. You want to dab up all the excess moisture after it comes to room temperature, and then you're going to want to chop it up into cubes, and again dry it off to get any excess moisture. Moisture is your enemy. I also have things to go for the mixture I'm going to make with Mexican oregano, some more cinnamon, cumin, chili powder, ground cloves as well. Not too much of this stuff though, guys. And coriander. Got my cumin, got my chili powder, and I got my diced tomatoes, my favorite thing. Your dad can only have whole wheat, so we're going to be using whole wheat. These were just on sale, but you know, our favorite are the high fiber ones we normally get. But these are still good. These still have high fiber. But I'm interested to see what they are. You can also use white, and then the mozzarella cheese is in the refrigerator. You're going to want to mince your garlic as well. I'm going to get ready to do that. I'm going to use grapeseed oil, and I'm going to start heating up my pan. I kind of ran out, but I love grapeseed oil. It doesn't have such a strong taste. You could also use avocado. That would be good as well. It's cast iron, so you want to always have your oil or something in it while you heat it up. So I'm going to heat it up while I salt and pepper my meat. So I dried off my meat as best as I could. This is called the sprinkling it over. Okay, I don't really measure. I just kind of make sure I'm using my kosher salt and sprinkling it over. A little bit of pepper too, not too much, but a little bit. Then I'm gonna mish it all together with my hands, wash my hands and let it sit for a little bit. And make sure it's all coated. If it needs a little bit more salt and pepper, I might do that as well. I used a lot of meat for this, so I just flipped it, and I'm gonna put more salt. And don't worry about too much, as long as you don't really overload it. It gets cooked out. So we're just going to let it sit there. Going to mish it all together and let it sit. What did I put in here? I put a tablespoon of chili powder, a tablespoon of Mexican oregano, a tablespoon of coriander, a tablespoon of cumin, 2 pinches of cloves, like really tiny pinches of brown cloves, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of the cinnamon. And we're going to just put it all together as a mix. You're going to come over here and sprinkle all this stuff. I put like half, and then I rub it all and mish it together, and then do the other half. Then you're going to take all of this and come over to your warmed up cast iron pan, or your stock pot, or your slow cooker, and you're just going to, you know, brown them on each side. So I do it in batches. So I've got some over here, so I'm going to do it in batches. I'll do all that, and then I'll come back. And then you're going to want to flip it, turn it, get the other side. It doesn't have to cook fully if that's not your goal. The goal is just to kind of brown it. So browning it, not cooked fully. It'll cook fully later. Just turn it over. Make sure all that seasoning gets cooked in. And then I'm going to put it over here to rest after I brown the sides. Kind of look over as you go. There might be like parts that need to be rendered in there. So. I'm about ready to take it out now. Okay. Doing the second batch now. And then as it cooks, you know, make sure you turn it, try to get all the red brown, but not fully cooked. So there's a lot of fat in there. I only want a little bit of it because I'm going to be using the onions to saute in there. And it's just too much after I've cooked the meat. So I'm probably going to take about half of this fat out of here by draining it. Okay, I kept a little bit of it in there just for flavor. I will put this a little bit more fresh. Then I'll start cooking and browning those onions with garlic. I haven't added my garlic yet. I'm going to take a wood spoon and get these onions in here. Probably put a little salt and pepper in the onions, just a little touch of salt and pepper. Touch of salt. Okay, so what I did was I threw my onions in here, put a little bit of salt and pepper, and then it kept just a little bit of oil, put a little bit of clean oil in there, and then it's pretty much scraped up as much as I could with the onions. We're going to let the onions cook a little bit before I add the garlic, half the garlic into it. Okay, I'm adding the garlic in. Let that cook in for a little bit more. Time to add the diced tomatoes. You can also use chopped up aromas. Go ahead and use that acid to really clean the bottom, see? And you're picking up all that flavor on the sides with those tomatoes. Looks pretty clean on the sides. Trying to get all that stuff in there. Time to dump all your meat back and whatever juices are on that plate inside this pot. Nestle everything evenly so it's like one smooth layer as possible in here. And then we're going to start adding beef broth to where it just barely covers the top. Okay, we got to bring this to a boil, but in the meantime I'm throwing in my sash shit. And then my bay leaves, and then my cinnamon stick. And I'm going to crush my 3 cloves up and put it in there as well. Okay, so now I'm going to put a teaspoon of Mexican oregano, cumin, chili powder, and coriander. Those 4 are the teaspoons. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of the cloves and the cinnamon, a 1/4, and then also a teaspoon of salt and about a 1/4 of black pepper as well. Cumin, chili powder, coriander. It was 1/8 of cloves. Cinnamon. I put 2 of these in there. Only because I was using 1/8 teaspoon. So there we go. Salt, teaspoon of salt. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Mix it all together. You want it to come to a boil. That's what we're waiting for. And then add just a little bit more broth to make sure it's covered. Some of these things are peeking out. So just a tad more broth. Now you just have to wait and let it come to a boil. Smells really good. Comes to a boil. You're gonna reduce it. Cover it and let it cook for about 3 hours. So it cooked for about 2 hours and 42 minutes. I was doing something and decided it was time to cook. And notice I took a couple pieces out. It's shreddable, and that's what we want. We want it to be shreddable. So I want to take the rest of it out now. So you're taking a slotted spoon and just fishing out all the meat. Getting the liquid out of there. Make sure you take out your cinnamon and your bay leaves and your satchel. Okay, no seasoning required in anything, okay, because you seasoned it enough when we were making this stew. So the stew is very important because you need this for dipping sauce, and you also need to dip your tortillas in it. And it can be very messy, so just be very careful. So I have my little pan to keep the excess liquid from going everywhere. I'm going to take my tortillas, dip it in my sauce, take it out of the sauce, and then put my meat in it with the cheese, fold it over and fry it. And we're going to need some oil. At this point in time, I would use some olive oil because that would make it nice. So I'm going to get out some olive oil, put it in the pan as well. Okay. Doing one for you now. With your tongs. Place the whole thing in there, man. Take it out. Put it on your prepping spot. Okay, take some of your birria meat. We're gonna put it on 1/2 of the taco. Okay. Not too full though, okay? Just enough. I'll put that back in there. Divide your mozzarella cheese in half, place it over top, and then you're going to then make it like a taco. And you're going to fry both sides. Your pan should have already heated up. You're going to put some oil in it, and then we're going to go for it. Placing it in. We're going to cook on one side for a bit, and then I'm going to turn it around. So we can watch it cook. You're going to know, you're going to start seeing some creep happening here with the brown, as it browns and cooks. Okay? Just watch it and then eyeball when you flip it. So it's really not long at all. So just maybe a minute or so on one side. Enough for me to dump another tortilla in the broth and come back. That's how much long it took for me. And I'm kind of watching the cheese right there get soft. And then it'll be done. And there you have it, QuesaBirria, and you just take it, dip it into the sauce, and eat it as you go. Keep dipping it in. It's yummy. Enjoy.